All right, welcome everybody. Amelia Padilla here with Level Up Strength Society. I have our wonderful Frankie Lee with Radiate Wellness here today, and we want to talk about some awesome results with a new offering that we have been giving to clients through Level Up Strength Society and working in tandem with Frankie. And before we get into those amazing results, Frankie, let's introduce you. And also, let's introduce the Metabolic Assessment Test, which is this new service that we're offering.
Hi, Amelia, and hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. It's always great to be able to pop on here with you and your crew. So my name is Frankie Lee. Like Amelia said, I'm the founder of Radiate Wellness. I also host a group called Raising the Bar in Women's Health. My practice does focus on women's health specifically and working with that intersection between gut health and hormonal health. So when Amelia approached me about doing a metabolic assessment with the clients that we share and some new clients that she had coming on, I thought it was a great tie-in especially for women who have been really hitting it hard, going for it hard with exercise, strength training, but maybe not getting the results that they were hoping for. So putting a lot of time and effort in and then not seeing the results that they were going for. So the metabolic assessment that I use in my own practice, I thought would be a great fit for this crossover. We use the Great Plains Organic Acids Test, which looks at 76 markers of how your body is functioning. So I think of it as kind of this little window into the body that we get to see everything from detoxification markers to how your gut health is doing, neurotransmitters, and some other things that are specific to how you're breaking down your macronutrients, which was, one of the things that's really, really helpful, especially with how we're processing energy in and able to produce energy out.
Yeah, this is an amazing test. I'm so lucky that we know you and we are able to do this. So let's talk about, so these results that I want to talk about. So this is a client, her name is Sam, and she was working with me for, I believe it was about 6 months. She was working really hard. She'd get up early. She'd get her workout in. She was drinking lots of water. Her nutrition was on point. She was getting plenty of protein and veggies. She was getting out for walks, getting sunlight, like all these good lifestyle habits that we talk about. And she made fantastic progress in the beginning. She lost inches around her waist. She was, her clothes, she's like, oh, Amelia, you have to buy all these new clothes. Like, darn it. But then we got to a point where things started to really plateau and peter off. And, at a certain point, there's only so much that we could look at in terms of lifestyle. And so that's when we decided to do this metabolic assessment. So, some of the things, let's talk about some of the things that Sam was experiencing in terms of her symptoms, because a lot of what you guys will see is that the test relates to a lot of digestive things, but she wasn't coming to you. She wasn't coming to us saying, I have these digestive issues, but it ended up being that. So it's very, very interesting story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the things that were at the top of Sam's mind in terms of her symptoms were really fatigue as a huge one, difficulty losing weight. So like you were saying, like had to hit a plateau, not able to lose more of the weight that she was holding on to. And then the brain fog. So really difficult time concentrating, kind of feeling scattered, overwhelmed. Oftentimes, obviously juggling a full-time job leads to a little bit of that overwhelm, but there was definitely a brain fog element to what she was experiencing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think another thing that I recall that had been expressed to me was feeling extra sore, like feeling more sore than should correlate with the workouts that we were doing. Or even when, she would take some time off, she's like, I still just feel so achy. And so I think, we can go over how that correlates to what we found in the test as well. So I think let's look at the results. So I think it's good to just show visually like what this test looks like, what the results look like, and what they mean. So if you want to share that with us, Frankie, let's go.
Yeah, let me get that set up here. All right, so I'm going to just send it into full screen mode so that we can see it a little bit more clearly. All right, so with the front page of the test, and let me make it even a little bigger because I know these are really small. Um, so what you see on this whole front page, these 18 markers are all about digestive health. And so it's interesting because you can even just with Great Plains, one of the things I love about this is that they do allow you just to rerun this part of the test. So it's kind of considered to be the microbial oat. And you can do that as a way of monitoring how your gut dysbiosis is, how your gut levels are in terms of pathogenic overload or what we're finding. And the thing that we see here is we break it down into two main categories. One of them is yeast and fungal markers, and one of them is bacterial markers. So it gives us a very clear snapshot right out of the gate of what we're seeing in the excretion, because this is a urine test. We're actually seeing what these pathogens are excreting in her gut and then coming out through the urine. So when we see this breakdown, we see that she has two markers that are on the rise and that are in the yeast and fungal overgrowth category. And then we see one that is high for the bacterial marker. So in terms of gut dysbiosis, this is really helpful to be able to say it's fungal and bacterial, right? That we are able to narrow it down to be able to be very specific in a protocol that's going to be able to help her get the good bacteria up in the gut and tamp down some of these things that are wanting to overgrow. So when we have bacterial and fungal overgrowth going on, we're going to have more fatigue. We are going to have brain fog, right? That gut brain connection. We are going to have a difficult time losing weight a lot of the time as well, because it's really kind of blocking the metabolism. It's blocking the body's ability to absorb well from our food and turn that food into energy.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's absolutely key. And there is no way that we can know that from the outside.
Right. And like Amelia said, she wasn't coming to us for digestive struggles. She actually had really good digestive health from what we can tell from bowel movements, how often she was going to the bathroom. There was no discomfort that she was experiencing, but we did know in health history that she had they have found some diverticulitis on a colonoscopy in the last couple of years. So we kind of knew that there was some little red flags going on there around the digestion. But as far as her comfort level and what she was experiencing, this was actually really new and clear news for us when we got the test results.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting that somebody who, I mean, of course, if somebody is experiencing digestive issues, then they would want to take this. But somebody who is even not experiencing those like major issues, their bowel movements are fine. They're not getting, major like gas or bloating. If they're still experiencing those other symptoms, right, the brain fog, the fatigue, the struggle with losing weight, that can really be an indicator that something's going on internally.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when we go on to the next page, what we find is a little bit of insight around the pain that Amelia was speaking about, the difficult time recovering, right? The ability to exercise maybe the same as another person, but then have a more difficult time recovering, more achiness, more creakiness afterwards. Really struggling with that kind of the day after, 2 days after, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we found was she had very high oxalate metabolites in her urine. So oxalates, you can kind of imagine them like little crystals that form in our muscles. And they're very commonly found in people who have fungal overgrowth. They kind of go hand in hand. And but one of the things that we can find is that as we get the fungal load down, a lot of times these oxalate metabolites will also decrease. And then we do a dietary scan to say what foods are going on in the diet that are pushing these oxalates to be higher and higher. Now, in Sam's case, we found that she was eating, like Amelia said, really well, all in all, a whole foods diet, not a lot of junk coming in, but she was a big spinach eater. She was eating spinach in her smoothies on a daily basis. And spinach is one of the highest oxalate foods, actually, that are on the high oxalate list. So we started to decrease that, swap it out for some other options. There's a lot of low oxalate options that we can use to make smoothies and still have a lot of vegetables in the diet. So, and nuts were another one. So using nuts as a snacking food, right? Because it was that thing of like, making sure she wasn't getting low blood sugar. So she was having a lot of nuts in the diet, which was also a high oxalate food. So in general, just doing this is going to get a lot of relief in terms of being able to feel less sore, less pain after exercising, and just being able to release oxalates appropriately instead of holding on to them. This is also really important for prevention in things like kidney stones, urinary tract infections in men, and prostate health. So we get to see what is going on behind the scenes if we're having symptoms like that.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
So
some simple, easy changes in her diet, right? And then she felt better even before all of the other stuff, right, was resolved.
Yeah. And then we're able to see here, okay, well, she's having a lot of fatigue. Is it a mitochondrial issue? So we get to see how is her actual firing of her energy centers and her cells doing? And she was in great shape here. So we know that the fatigue wasn't coming from a mitochondrial issue, which is really nice to be able to rule that out. We also found that she was in her amino acid metabolite, she was really able to break down, process, and use her amino acids appropriately. So this gives us that clue of, okay, the pain and the recovery was actually really coming from the high oxalates, not because she didn't have access to her amino acids to recover, right? Which is kind of what we would maybe think out of an assumption or a hypothesis is, oh, maybe she's not breaking down protein well and she doesn't have those building blocks. But we found here that she does. So it really ties back again to the oxalate level.
Yeah.
We were able to see that her neurotransmitters were actually in really good standing. So I won't get into this too much, but we do get to see things like your dopamine, your serotonin, your norepinephrine, things that can really relate to mood imbalances, anxiety, depression. But she was all in the clear there, which was great. Yeah. On this next page, what we found was really I think one of the big cornerstones of the test that we found for her is in this ketone and fatty acid oxidation. So basically, how is she breaking down fat and how is she able to use it? So of the 7 markers in this section of the test, 3 of them were extremely elevated, showing that she had been kind of excreting or wasting some of the fat that she was having in her diet that wasn't able to actually go into cellular function. So this is a really, another really easy fix actually is that, well, first we want to make sure, is the gallbladder there? Is the liver functioning, right? How do we break down fat on a functional level in the digestive system? But then beyond that, using something like acetyl L-carnitine in this case was really a game changer, because what it does is it helps the fat jump through the cellular membrane and be able to be used by the cell to create energy. So when we have fat not being able to be absorbed into the cellular level, it's going to cause our blood sugar naturally to be kind of dysregulated, right? Because we don't have the fat to ground the carbohydrates that may be coming in, or that macronutrient wheel that we really want to keep in balance. So this was huge because metabolizing fat is a key way of staying satiated, making sure your blood sugar is balanced, making sure you got good energy, good cognitive function. And it was a huge, huge find for her.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is something that you could never guess from the outside. There's so many different factors that go into our energy and our blood sugar regulation that there's no way that you would know this.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we get a little sneak peek at how her nutritional markers are. She was just a little high in B5, which was actually, that it was barely out of range, so not even much of a concern. We get to see the look at kind of her detoxification markers, how that liver is working. This is naturally going to be high if there is any gut dysbiosis going on. Again, we get another really good look at her amino acid metabolites. Everything was in good range. So really, all in all, able to get a very specific snapshot of what was causing the problem. We had gut dysbiosis, we had high oxalates, and we also had that difficulty turning fat into energy.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. I love this test. And so, Sam's results. So she actually stopped doing some strength training. She just focused on this whole protocol, right? So getting in the supplements, focused on changing her diet a bit. And then she was still active. She was still walking, like going on nice, like hour-long walks every day. So it wasn't that she was doing nothing, but she wasn't, coming and doing strength training. She wasn't doing HIIT classes, no boot camps, none of that stuff, right? And she has lost 15 pounds. She has less fatigue, right? So none of that soreness that she was feeling, better energy, better mental clarity, right? And she's not like she's taking even anything specific for mental clarity. Everything that she has been taking and doing has been for the gut. So it's just so amazing to see how, we know that they're linked, but just to see that in real life is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what this test really allows us to do is it allows us to have things just really click into place in the body, right? Like where the body needs a little bit of support or a little bit of relief, and it's struggling to either convert or transition one thing into the next thing in a pathway. I mean, we're able just to go right in there, see what is going to be the most effective intervention, and be able to be really, really specific with it and help the body work to do what it wants to do, which is to be in better balance.
Right. Yeah. Because she could be totally guessing. She could just guess at all these things and say, oh, well, maybe I need to be, I need to take MCT oil, right? And that's going to help my blood sugar regulation. Or maybe I need to take probiotics and that's going to help so there are so many things that you could guess at, and you could spend a lot of time and a lot of money and leave yourself very frustrated because nothing's changing because it's not specific.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, even though it might be an investment to do something like this, if you look at it in comparison to just guessing over time, it's not an investment because you're just going to spend a lot more money and a lot more time and just stress and frustration over trying to figure it out on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that it really speaks to, dietary specification too, right? That, she wouldn't have been a good candidate for keto. It would have caused her whole body to downregulate. It would have caused everything to be operating more sluggishly because she'd be having more fat intake and not being able to convert it appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't be a good candidate for, doing a lot of carbohydrates before a workout either, because that would be feeding the type of gut dysbiosis that she had unknowingly, that she was carrying around a fungal load as well as a bacterial load that would really be kind of gobbling up those types of carbohydrates. So I think it just really speaks to that bio-individual necessity when we're talking about how do we balance macronutrients appropriately for each person, and then for them to be able to get the results that they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Mhm.
So, I think that the type of people, like, I want to wrap this up and just say, like, the type of people that should really consider something like this, if you're definitely working really hard and you're not seeing those results, right? If you're getting up in the morning, you're getting workouts in, you're getting lots of activity, you're getting lots of sunlight, you're doing all the right things, your sleep is good, all of these things, you're managing stress, and you still feel like you're carrying around this weight that you shouldn't be, and struggling with fatigue that doesn't make any sense, brain fog, right? Which, of course, if like sleep and stress are good, you would think brain fog should be fine. You shouldn't have any of that. If you're experiencing any of those symptoms, then, definitely consider something like this. And, if you're looking for, coaching and a trainer who is more holistic, right? Because a lot of trainers don't know about any of this kind of stuff, then, we would love to chat. Yeah. So thank you. We're so lucky, Frankie, to have you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the testing so much. I think it really allows us to be such better practitioners, such better support for the clients that we're working with. And ultimately, we are taking the guesswork out of it. We are taking it to that direct specificity that we need, especially when we're really struggling in our health. And I think that it just allows us to do what we do better when we have the data behind us. So it's a pleasure to be able to offer it with you guys.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Great. All right. Well, we will chat again. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.